Hi friends, in the previous session we have studied scalar data types. The numeric part we have studied. Now we'll move forward toward character, boolean and the datetime data types. So the character types let you store the alphanumeric data that represent the word and the text and manipulate the character strings. So char is used to store the character data type. Char is the data type in which we store the data. So this is char. Char is used to store in the predefined length. The storage length is 32767 bytes. Character is also the one of the subtype of the char. Then we have varchar2, which is most widely used for the data type. It is also used to store the variable strings within the predefined length. Its storage is also 32767 bytes. There are two subtypes in the varchar2. There is one is string and another is varchar subtype. So how we declare is same as the numbers, column name, then var cat2, and then its size, x size, which we want to define. So this is how we define the character varchar2 character data type. The other we have is nchar. It's used to store the national character data within the predefined length. And then nvarchar2, it's used to store the Unicode string data. The nchar is used to store the national character data, but the nvarchar is used to store the Unicode string data. Then we have other data types like raw, long. So raw is used to store the binary data such as the images, graphics. It's also having the same length size as 32767, and the long is used to store the string data. This was used earlier, but nowadays we don't use long for storing the variable data. Then we have row ID and urow ID. Row ID is very much important in our database. So row ID is internal to DB table. Every DB table has the row ID. This is the pseudo column which stores the binary value, and each row ID represents the storage address of the row. So it's kind of unique column inside the table, and that's an inbuilt one. When we create any of the table, the row ID is the one which will created by the system. So you will not create the row ID, but the system will create it itself. So there are two types, physical row ID and the logical row ID. The physical row ID identifies the rows in an ordering table, and the logical is identified that how it is organized into the table. So we have created the employee table, and I hope you remember how we have created. We haven't used the row ID. We haven't created the row ID in that table. So if I'll let's see that there was no row ID column in the employee table. Let's see if there is any row ID inside the employee table. Select row ID comma emp code from employee master table. So this is the statement is executed successfully. Here you can see the row IDs, and every row ID would be the unique one. There is some unique character in here. You can see here that last character is different for everyone. For 10001 there is A, then B, C, D, E, F. So the every row is unique in itself. So this is how row ID is used. The row ID is used for the distinction also. So row ID is very much important part of the PL/SQL. You will use further in your data. So after this character data types, we have the boolean and the datetime data types. The boolean data types, we have stated that there are two values, true and false, which we have defined for the boolean data types. It stores the logical value and it would be only true and false. So and false are the only two values for this. And another is the date time. Date time, it is used to store the date and the time value. The date time, so the default format in which, when you created a date column, the default format which database would take is dd, mm and the yy. So this is the default format which database would take when you define a column or you will make a variable. It includes the time of the day and in the seconds since midnight. So the valid range for the date time is from Jan 1 4712 BC to December 1 999 AD. So let's select one date time column. Select sysdate from Dool. You know, it's a inbuilt column, inbuilt table. So we'll selecting sysdate from the inbuilt table of the database. I'll execute this command. Now you can see here this is date 1 July 17 comes here. So you can see the sysdate is selected. So this is the date time format which we use. So all these formats, boolean, date time, varchar, numeric, we'll use in further code for writing our our codes and assigning the values to them. So study about them, use it in your code to in more depth to learn that how you can assign to variables, how you can use with that variables. Thanks.